My name is Zach Schwartz. I'm one of the sustainability coordinators for the city of Sedona. One of the many things that I do for the city is I help the Sedona's government oversee their transition to electric vehicles. We have a goal of transitioning our fleet to fully electric vehicles by 2030. So we do a lot of things to help the city achieve those goals. And in our time trying to achieve those goals, we've run into and connected with and partnered with Peter and John here with Drive Electric Arizona. And we're really excited to have them here today. They're going to just be sharing with you the amazing resource that they bring to organizations and governments all over Arizona that can really help uh, organizations, kind of break down the barriers of considering going electric with your organization's fleet. We found it to be very helpful on our end of things. We had our first electric vehicle ride and drive event in Sedona. I'm sure they're gonna maybe talk about that a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of them, but we found it to be super helpful. It was not that big of a lift coming from a government staffer who's overseeing a lot of other projects and priorities, and they made the process just really smooth. Um, it was a very successful event. It was a 2-day event for us. We had a lot of good turnout, a lot of interest, and I think it helped our staff become a little less nervous when it comes to ordering their first electric vehicle. So with that, I'm just gonna hand it off to Peter and John to dive more into what they can offer cities and organizations in the state.
Okay, I will start. Hi, my name is John Martinson, and I'm president and co-founder of Drive Electric Arizona. 9 years ago, I earned an executive master of sustainability leadership at ASU School of Sustainability, so it's a little like coming home. As sustainability professionals for Arizona cities and towns, you want to help your staff and community learn about electric vehicles and show that your city is serious about sustainability. But how do you effectively engage both staff and community members in electric vehicle education while demonstrating your organization's commitment to environmental leadership? The answer lies in hands-on experiences. Research consistently shows that test driving electric vehicles creates the most effective education and behavior change. But organizing safe, engaging ride and drive events requires specialized expertise that most governmental and agencies lack, or entities lack, sorry. Successful EV education events involve multiple complex components. Securing diverse vehicle offerings from various manufacturers, coordinating knowledgeable EV owner educators who can answer real-world questions, managing event logistics for both weekday staff events and weekend public programs, and ensuring safety protocols and proper insurance coverage. Drive Electric Arizona provides the specialized event, planning, and execution expertise to municipal leaders like you who need to create exceptional EV education experiences. Through comprehensive event coordination, including diverse vehicle sourcing and experienced EV owner facilitators, Drive Electric Arizona transforms complex event logistics into seamless educational experiences. We even produce and provide comprehensive printed information takeaways about charging EVs at home, local charging infrastructure, and DC fast charging along routes to nearby cities and throughout the state. Drive Electric Arizona has successfully produced ride and drive events for diverse entities across the state of Arizona, including the cities of Phoenix, Sedona, and Flagstaff, tribal nations like San Carlos Apache Tribe, nonprofits like Salt River Project and Cave Creek's Desert Foothills Public Library, as well as showcase events at 50+ public events last year alone. This diverse portfolio demonstrates our ability to adapt our event expertise to different organizational needs and community contexts. Now I'll turn this over to Peter.
Thank you, John. I am Peter Hewlin, a Vice President and co-founder of Drive Electric Arizona. My specialty is logistics, but I'm going to skip back real quick and just show you. Those are photos from Zach's event in Sedona back in December, where we had some Tesla police cars and a whole lot of different EVs. It was a fun event. Just wanted to point that out. So now I'll go back to my really interesting stuff about logistics. So we have sorry, we have 5 key pillars to ensure a successful, safe, and engaging EV ride and drive experience, including venue staging, vehicle acquisition, insurance, event promotion, and execution and data collection. Drive Electric Arizona will work with you and find a suitable location to host a ride and drive event. When considering layout planning, we look for sectioned off parking lots that have one entrance and one exit for simple and safe traffic flow with minimal obstructions. And while it seems simple, access to a bathroom for attendees and volunteers is a must. Ask us how we know. We offer drive route planning and coordination, looking for a drive route that is typically 3 to 5 miles long, providing test drivers a real-world driving experience. Our safety measures include right-hand turn drive routes on surface streets, with any left-hand turns only at controlled intersections. We provide signage placement, including directional signs for all turns on a drive route, and the display setup includes a registration tent, informational booth, separate static display vehicles, and cordoned off moving vehicles area. We can also create a separate section for EV mobility, such as e-bikes and scooters. With vehicle acquisition, we engage our volunteers to bring extensive private owner participation. In addition, if there are local market EV dealerships or OEMs, they will be invited to offer vehicles for test drives or display. Depending on needs and availability, fleet and commercial vehicles could be procured, such as electric school buses. A little side note, when we did our San Carlos event earlier this year, we had an electric school bus that drove out from the valley, so the tribal community could experience what an electric school bus is like. These strategies ensure model diversity at all of our events. One of the ways that we do this is we have a Hot Wheels EV display. If you can see on the photo to the left, this shows attendees just a rough idea of how many different EV models are available on the market today. Definitely not all of them, but it's a really good way to see it in a visual sense. And that is my son's collection. Very proud of that. So for event promotion, we offer social media campaigns, including engaging posts, reels, and event invites on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or Meetup. We'll send targeted newsletters and follow-ups to our contact list. Our communications team will provide media and press outreach, distribute press releases, and invite local media to cover the event. We leverage different community groups, schools, and municipal networks to amplify the message. And through sponsor collaboration, we utilize their platforms and customer bases to broaden your reach. For example, APS or SRP are sponsors and could communicate to their customer base the promotion of a ride and drive event in their market area, expanding the reach of the marketing by hundreds of thousands of people. We provide all on-site management, including vehicle staging, volunteer coordination, attendee signups, survey feedback, and post-event reporting, which includes the number of display or drivable vehicles, how many volunteers participated, how many people went for a test drive, and the total number of test drives provided. Oftentimes, these numbers differ because many people take multiple drives in different vehicles. And the million-dollar question, or maybe not $1 million, how much does it cost? So there are competitors of ours, for-profit companies that charge upwards of $60,000 for a single event. Drive Electric Arizona offers a scalable model, charging $200 for each drivable vehicle owned by a volunteer, and if an overnight stay is required, an additional amount to help cover the volunteer's hotel stays. These fees go to our volunteers. They do not go to us. We also charge a flat $500 production management fee. And how do you sign up? Send us an email if you want to inquire about hosting your own ride and drive event. We book up early, so advanced planning is required. And with that, let's get some questions in. Thank you.
Great, thank you, John and Peter. So I don't see any questions in the chat. I do have a bunch, but we'll open it up for Q&A specifically and at this point in time. So if any of you have specific questions, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself.
I had a question. You had mentioned volunteers bring their own vehicles. I'm sure it varies for each event, but roughly what percentage of the vehicles are from volunteers, and then what percentage might be from car manufacturers or car dealers?
You're correct. It does depend on the event. So for example, we did a large ride and drive event on April 19th, partnered with the city of Phoenix, with Karen. We had about 30 different vehicles that could be test driven, and 6 of them were provided by dealerships. For our event we did just recently with Flagstaff, partnering with Danae Pressler and her team. We had about 30 vehicles, and about half of those were provided by local dealerships. So it really just depends on the event and maybe the market area, depending on where our volunteers come from.
Thank you.
But and one more point, one of the things that Flagstaff wanted to accomplish was to establish communications and partnerships with local dealerships. So they specifically asked that we bring as much dealership participation as we could for that event. And we had nine total dealerships that participated.
And I'd like to add to that, we since that event, we're continuing staying in touch with those dealerships. And one of the things that they asked us is to help them sell EVs, which is part of what we do. So.
And if I can add, just since we worked with you guys, one of the benefits of this, of putting this on for a city or any organization, is the fact that you can have so many volunteers bringing their own personal vehicles. And this is just like a very safe, non-pressure environment to learn about electric vehicles. When you go to dealerships, you tend to have just a lot of pressure and hype about their product, but more often than not, you're able to engage with just somebody who uses their electric vehicle every day and can just tell you the honest reality of the pros and cons of these vehicles and this technology.
And I'd like to add to that also, Zach, and that is that we talked to the dealership. In order to have the dealerships there, they have to agree that there are no sales going on. It is simply an educational event. And if they agree to that, then they can participate.
And it's a fantastic way to test drive a whole bunch of different vehicles without having to go to different dealerships, especially if you're in a rural area like Sedona. You don't have a lot of local dealerships. So it really, it solves a problem for a lot of people being able to test drive multiple vehicles from different manufacturers in a no pressure environment. Carnell has a question.
Hey, Peter, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Carnell? Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hey, some time ago, I attended an event, an EV event, which I guess at the time, a lot of the focus was more on infrastructure and not so much the actual vehicles. Seems like that's starting to even out a little bit more these days. But at the time, there was a lot of talk about adoption of EV motorcycles. I heard you mention scooters, but I think that event was probably about 5 years ago. So I guess in the last couple of years, or maybe recently, have you noticed any increase in adoption for EV motorcycles?
Well, we do have some volunteers that own electric motorcycles. I think I don't know how to answer that one. So I know, have we seen an increase? There's certain more options now for electric motorcycles. Like Polaris has one, Zero has one, Harley Davidson has one. You know, so
Mm.
there's more options now that definitely than there were 5 years ago as far as electric motorcycles go. And, you know, side by sides and UTVs and things like that, they're starting to go have electric options as well.
Nice. Yeah, I think Polaris was the vendor that was there at the time.
Oh,
So
interesting. Do you
Carnell,
know
are
where
you
that?
a motorcycle driver yourself?
I am not, but you know, I have kids and they're always talking about scooters and you're seeing, you know, nothing but scooters on the roads these days. So I was just curious, you know, what's the, you know, what does the marketplace look like for motorcycles? I'm with the city of Mesa's energy resources as well, along with Deb, and on some of the areas that I'm responsible for is working directly with the homeowners who's looking to make modifications to the home to allow for support of their electric vehicles. But I've yet to see anyone, you know, complete modification work for motorcycles. And so I
Oh,
was just curious if that was a thing. Like if, you know, I mean, clearly, I think the technology that seems to be most popular and booming at the moment is the, you know, the variety of electric vehicles, but never hear anything about the motorcycle side. So I was
yeah.
just curious.
Well, one of the reasons you don't have people inquiring about changing their charging hardware for motorcycles because you don't need anything more than a 110 outlet. They have much smaller batteries than an EV, like an electric vehicle. They might be 15 to 16 kilowatts. So they could charge on a standard household outlet overnight without any modifications to the home whatsoever.
Yeah, and not Goal Zero, sorry, Zero is I've looked into those motorcycles myself because those are very interesting. They only have you only need like a 1 hour charge
Yeah.
sometimes for Zero. But in terms of if you're also curious about like having those at a ride and drive event, I don't know if that's possible because we generally I think you guys require the owner
Yeah.
to like be in the vehicle with you. And if otherwise you're basically unless you're like riding in the, you know, passenger as a passenger in a motorcycle, you're pretty much driving off with their vehicle.
Yeah,
Right.
the only way to solve that would be to have the manufacturer OEM provide motorcycles, and then they could do
Mm.
their own vetting for proper motorcycle endorsement, things like that.
Yeah, I think for me, I would just like to see what it looks like in person. You know, when the vendor was out there, it was just all catalogs and things like that. And so,
Right.
you know, I'm used to hearing the loud Harleys and things like that. I'm like, with EVs being so quiet, what does that look like? What does it feel like? What is the weight on something like that? You know, with Arizona being such, well, I would say like the East Valley being such a commuter area, I would think that there would be more adoption to those, and especially from the price point perspective. But yeah, I
Well,
just don't see them.
I have my motorcycle endorsement. My wife says I will not ever be able to drive one until our kids are old enough to take care of themselves. So,
Yeah, same here, my friend. I had a Yamaha V
so
Star back in the day, and kids came. I haven't been on a motorcycle since 16 years later.
and I'll tell you what, Carnell, next time I have an event where I know there's going to be an EV motorcycle, I'll shoot you a text, and if you can come out and check it out.
Nah, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's great. Looks like Karen, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I just have a comment for Carnell. You know, Carnell, they look just like a regular motorcycle, but the way you can tell is if there's no pipes, no exhausts on them. That's a telltale. But they're so quiet. I've seen a few Zeros on the road. We've got a couple Zeros in the police department at Sky Harbor that they only use on campus. But you probably have seen them and you didn't even know you were seeing them.
Yeah. Well, Deb, I have to tell you the truth. You know, since we started this project with the solar canopies and the parking dilemma, I was like, oh, maybe I should get one for the summer or something. Just no parking.
The solar canopies look great, by the way. Drive by them every
Yeah,
day.
thank you. But there's always motorcycle parking. I'm like, oh,
Yes, there
tempting.
is. Great. So I'm curious, you mentioned that you track the attendees and certain numbers. Are you also tracking as part of your events how many people following the ride and drive actually do purchase an electric vehicle?
That is a good question, and that's a challenging bit of information to capture post-event. And it's because then typically it's not right away. Someone might be coming back 6 months or maybe even 2 years from doing the event when they finally get their EV. We occasionally have someone that come back to us and says, "Hey, I bought an EV." We just had an EV purchased by an attendee at our Flagstaff event, which was just 3 weeks ago, and they did report back to us. Thank you so much. We're so excited. We test drove all these different EVs. We went out and bought one, and they weren't, and they were in a situation where they would have had to come to the valley. Their truck was old and not suitable for driving long distance, and having that local event there where they could test drive a number of different EVs gave them the comfort to say, you know what, this is the one I want. And they ordered a used one on Carvana and had it shipped to their house. And so we do get that feedback occasionally. We had one of the people that came to Zach's event in Sedona had come to a previous event of ours and then procured his own EV and then brought it back full circle and volunteered it for one of ours. So it does happen, but that is a challenging bit of information to track down.
Sure. And that kind of brings me to the question you kind of touched on, is the secondary market for electric vehicles. So as part of your work with dealers, do they also have an inventory of secondary, gently used electric vehicles, or is that kind of more on an individual, seller by seller basis?
Generally speaking, in Phoenix, there's a lot of used EVs that are available at dealerships. You just have to look for them, but they're most certainly there. And now that, Carnell mentioned 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, there was very few models available on the market for EVs, mostly, from Tesla and from the other couple OEMs that were just starting to release new models. But today, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of models that are available now. And so there's lots of options. And in the last 3 years, a lot of people lease them. So they're starting to come off lease, and we're starting to see a large increase of used vehicles on the secondhand market for purchase. So it's definitely happening. And you can get some screaming deals on some used EVs too.
Great. Wonderful.
And with the exception of our dealerships, all of our EVs that come to our events are used EVs, right?
Well, that's true, right? Carnell.
I just had a quick question about the, I guess I don't know if it's just used market or what have you, but Peter, we had started talking about some of the programs that Mesa Community College has, and one part of their programming that is either in place now or will be rolling out soon is maintenance for the EVs, and so for those
Maintenance.
owners, yeah, so it's like if there's any sort of maintenance, but I think the thing that I'm still gray on there is that program, or are there programs that's specifically for, let's say, mom and pop auto body shop that looks to hire or start offering the ability to work on EVs, or are they solely these types of programs for individuals that's looking to work for the manufacturer? So I know Tesla has its own,
Yeah.
auto shop or what have you. But I'm curious, what does that market look like for, these other mechanics and, like I say, mom and pop shops out there that solely work on gas powered vehicles?
You want to
Great
take that one, John?
Well, okay. So there are a couple of places in the valley that offer training to work on electric vehicles. It's not a simple thing. There's no easy move over from working on ICE vehicles. There's a group in Tempe called Legacy EV. There's that works with school districts and designs plans so that students can learn how to work on EVs. They even have a certification program so that if you get through their certification program, you could go work for Lucid. So you have that training there, and you can actually adapt their training where they will help you develop a program for schools where students can learn to work on electric vehicles. There is an organization out in Surprise called what's the name?
Serenity.
Serenity EV, which works on EVs that have gone past their initial warranty period. But we have a long way to go on a lot of EVs and their warranty periods, and they're warranted for, I think the federal standard is 150,000 miles, and it's
8
quite a
years.
number of years.
8 years.
And, and just the idea of working on EVs, I have a 7-year-old Tesla Model 3 that has never had any service, no maintenance, no service. So EVs are very different than, gas-powered vehicles. They almost never need any service.
And to add to that point, it's not because he's skipping it, it's because he doesn't need it.
Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
So, and then, there's a lot of things about owning an EV that are different than an ICE vehicle. For example, there's if you learn how to drive an EV where there's regenerative braking, you don't need brake service. And that 7-year-old Tesla Model 3 recently went in to have an air filter changed. And I asked them to look at the brakes, and they said the brakes look brand new. So if you look, that's after 7 years of driving. So I've been driving EV since 1999. So I have a lot of experience with this, but learning to drive, and they call it one pedal driving, learning to drive an EV, once you get the knack of that regenerative braking, you should never really use your brakes except in an emergency.